indicated. And it is indicated by these words. And then what happens? It is indicated by the words Sat Chit Ananda or Satyam Jnanam Anantam, same thing. And these are not words that are attributes to the Atma, because Atma doesn't have any attributes. These are words that simply point to the Atma, like even if you were to ask me, where is the temple located? And I will say, please go that way to reach the temple. And then you look at the finger and then proceed in that direction. You don't catch hold of the finger and start to examine the finger. That's not the point here. So the words are simply a signpost that lead you to that which doesn't need any advertisement, because it is self-advertising. It is self-advertising. So it doesn't need any advertisement. It is self-revealing. It is self-evident, self-radiant, and so it is effortlessly you. And from the standpoint of the universe, this same consciousness afore described, this same consciousness, and we cannot say it has the properties of Sat Chit Ananda. Sat Chit Ananda are not properties, not attributes, they're just indicatory words to internalize the meaning of what the teacher is talking about here. So from the standpoint of the individual body, mind, sense complex, this I that pervades is an as though inhabitant. It's an as though inhabitant of the body, mind, sense complex. And then what? And then from the standpoint of the universe, this same consciousness is an as though inhabitant of the entire Jagat. Same thing. Everything is. And then when I look at the flower, I say I know, because flower is, flower knowledge is. That's all it is. Pot is means pot knowledge is. And this isness is what is there. So the same consciousness pervades this body, and then I say I inhabit or I indwell this body. And the same consciousness from the standpoint of the Jagat, the universe, the manifest universe, enters, so to speak, all the names and forms. Then how does it enter? Who created the names and forms? Who created? Created again is mithya. Creation is mithya. And we talked about mithya because we have to see and delineate between the two orders of reality. One that is unchanging, Sat, you, and then the other one that is constantly changing and constantly morphing into various things. And the two together is known as the Jagat. Satyam, Mithya actually never come together, because Mithya is Sat. Sat is not Mithya, we saw that as well. And all this is there in these two lines of the response of the teacher. And the teacher is not completely done yet. The teacher has to then talk about what is it that is being talked about, and how is this relevant, how is this taught. Because in Vedanta, one thing we need to know is that the pedagogical devices of the teaching methodology is given alongside the teaching. The methodology and the teaching are not two separate things. The pedagogy is imbibed by the student along with the unfoldment of the Vastu, of the Atman at hand. And so, the teacher in the next mantra, and you can read along with me, you can open the texts that have been given to you and read along with me, whichever one you are comfortable with, you can read along. Where is that? Next one, mantra number 3. न तत्र चक्षुर्गच्छति न वाग्गच्छति नो मनः न विद्मः न विजानीमः यथैतद् अनुशिष्यात्. The teacher says, the teacher then describes why he had to go in a roundabout way to talk about this Atma. Why not just straight away say you are Atma? Why talk about it as the eye of the eye, etc.? And he says, because of the difficulty in communicating this. In fact, as I told you earlier, there is no difficulty in communicating this. There is a difficulty in imbibing this. That is the problem because of all the notions beforehand. We are only used to dealing with the objects. We are used to dealing with things that we can identify, we can grasp in our grubby paws, we can put under a microscope, we can name it, we can analyze it. This is what one is comfortable with. And the orientation is to do the same thing with the Atma. And then, therefore, the teacher says, Na tatra. Tatra means what? Tatra means there. There means where. Don't look. There is no location. Tasmin Atmani. With reference to that Atma, which was earlier described as Chakshushas Chakshuhu, Shrotrasya Shrotram, etc., etc. With reference to that Atma alone, Na tatra Chakshur gacchati. This Atma is not an object of sight. Na vag gacchati. Neither the speech can go there. No, na u manaha. No manaha. Not indeed the mind. And then, he says, then na vidmaha. We don't know. Na vijanimaha. We can't find out. Yatha etad anushishyat. We don't discern, we cannot see, we cannot understand how one can teach this even. How is this even taught? It's a miracle. It's a wonder that it can be communicated, seeing that it has no shape, no form, no color, no smell, and no, it doesn't make a sound, nor is it silence. And so, how on earth to teach this? It is not available for touch. It is not available for taste, the taste of Atma. A nice name for an Indian restaurant, but there is no such thing. There is no taste of Atma. That because of which one tastes is Atma. And so there is absolutely, and the teacher cannot give any handouts. People keep asking me, I want some handouts. What handouts to give? There is no handouts. And because there is no description. And then the teacher has to be extremely careful, because whatever the teacher says, the student will grab on to it. Atma is, I want to really know what Atma is. Just tell me in one line. What is the Atma? And I want to write it down. The writer downer is Atma, and the one that is wanting to write it down is Atma. And so the subject-object contradiction here, because the object is nothing but the subject. Subject is nothing but that I alone. Subject cannot be objectified. And so therefore, the teacher says that this presents some difficulty in communicating, because the orientation is what we described earlier as paranchikhani orientation of the ears, the eyes, the nose, the tongue, and the sense of touch facing outwards. And then what is the point in life? Go inward, somebody said. How to go inward when everything in this universe, when the God-given sense organs, starting with the means of knowledge that I know intimately, like even my own sense organs, they are all directing me outwards. And Bhagavan has made the Jagat so tantalizingly beautiful. The trees, the bodies of water, the sun that shines, the rivers that flow, the snow that gently falls. Everything is just so beautiful. The leaves, and then and the people, children, and their smiles, and the garden, flowers in the garden, various kinds of flowers, plus all the other things, the ingredients for which are already in the jagat, and we take that, and then human made stuff, we take that and make things out of it. And so all those things, starting with gulab jamun, everything is so tantalizing. Chocolate cake is there, gulab jamun is there, so many things are there, and so many things are there. And all of this, is this whole world is there for who? It is not there for the sake of the world. We have already seen that argument. The world is put together for who? You, the bhokta, the enjoyer, the potential enjoyer consciousness taking on the mantle of bhoktritvam. You as the potential enjoyer is very much here in order to enjoy. So here the world is not for its own sake. The world is put together for that conscious being who cognizes the things in the universe, and it is there for you. And therefore, you go about saying, okay, I am the monarch of all I survey, this belongs to me. And so the whole world is divided into two. Oh, known and unknown? No, no, no. Mine and yet to be mine. This is how the world is divided. Mine, not yet mine. And so the orientation is outward, the desire flows outward, everything is outward. What is this Bhagavan trying to do? Destroy even the slightest flicker of the desire for moksha. Any mumuksha that one may have by mistake is just cut to the chase, and then it's not even there. What is Bhagavan trying to do? Someone you have to blame, because this is a very frustrating situation. And not just for the student, for the teacher also, because the teacher has to contend with all the objects in the jagat. And then, and then teach. And this is what the teacher is expressing here. The teacher will bring in the entire lineage in the next mantra, and show how this is taught. Very, very beautiful. But here the teacher is simply saying that the eyes do not go there. Why? Because the eyes the eyes are king where form, shape, color are concerned. What is the color of Atma? Somebody said blue. Somebody said yellow. Neither blue nor yellow. But then yellow is Atma, blue is Atma, purple is Atma, pink is Atma. All the colors of the rainbow and anything in between is Atma. But Atma is not any one color. Atma is not any one form. So you see, there is no way of teaching it as an object, because it is neither object, and as we saw earlier, not even the subject. It's the content of both the subject and the object, lending its presence to the subject, lending its presence to quote unquote manifest as the object without being either subject or object. How to teach this? This is how to teach this. This is a series of negations of all kinds of notions. So he says, chakshu na gacchati tatra tasmin atmani. In this prakritam atma, in this prakrita atma, in this atma under discussion, the eyes do not have any role to play. They just have to keep their eyes shut and keep quiet. And then what? Na vag gacchati. The words, speech also has no role to play. Speech is very proud of itself. And it says, oh, I can name anything. Give me something to label. I have a sticky label in my hand and I'm just going to put it. Atma is not a jar of pickle or jam, okay? It's not a jar of mixed fruit jam that you can label. And if you don't know this, you are the one that is in the jam, okay? Or in the pickle. This is what has to be understood. This is what has to be understood. This is precisely where the mistakes are made, and therefore the teacher has to specify each sense organ, especially the primary sense organs, because sight is very primary. And then, and even when you understand something, you say, yeah, I know what you're saying, I see it now. It's not that you're seeing, you're knowing it. Still you say, I see it. So the eyes have a certain primacy. Speech has a certain primacy as the organ of action. That is very much prevalent. And speech has primacy because it is in charge of cataloguing the entire Jagat. And it starts at age, 5 months old. The mother will point to the crow and say, that is kakaha, this is crow. And the child may not be able to know how to say the word. But each time the mother says kakaha, the child will look. And it won't look down because it knows the crows will be somewhere in the tree. It understands. So since then, since 5-6 month old, the cataloging begins. So speech is extremely powerful. And it is inherited from the mother, father. That's why it's called mother tongue. But then here the teacher points out that speech is finite. What can speech do? It can only address 4 categories of things in the grammar. Jati, species. Guna, attributes. Tree, jati, species, nouns. Guna, tall tree, leafy tree, bushy tree, fruit laden tree. These are all adjectives. Guna, jati guna. And then kriya, a swaying tree, swaying in the wind, swaying tree. And sambandha, a tree in the forest along with other trees. Sambandha means relationship. So nouns, verbs, adjectives, and relationships. Relationship between 2 different nouns. That's all is the gamut and the scope of what words can convey. Oh, that's all. Yes, that's all. So what jati? Is Atma a noun? Yes, Atma is a noun. In fact, in Sanskrit also it's a noun. In English also, I is, it's a noun, you can say. And then Atma, Atmanau, Atmanaha, it declines along the, keeping in view the Sanskrit rules, the grammar rules, it declines. Atma, Atmanau, Atmanaha, one Atma more than two Atmas more than 2 Atmas. Like this it declines. So yeah, you can say it's a noun. So is it a species? Well, no. Why? Because it's one of a kind. It's a noun, but it is not really like other nouns, table, chair, etc. Because it is Sat. It is that which upholds all the tables, chairs, every other noun in the universe without becoming a noun in itself. Like even pot and clay. Clay and pot, you cannot say are synonyms. They don't point to the same thing. Why? Because there is a discrepancy here. Pot is clay. Clay is not just pot. Clay is clay. Pot is clay. Clay can be in the form of a lump, in the form of a figurine, in the form of a lid, in the form of another cup, another pot, another lid. So the whole world of earthenware, the clay blesses with its presence without becoming a single pot. This is exactly same thing with gold. Gold and ornaments. 1,000,000 ornaments, one gold. It upholds the world of ornaments without becoming a single ornament, without undergoing any change. In fact, the whole pot is clay, the whole ornament is gold. The shine of the chain does not belong to the chain, it belongs to gold. The weight of the chain made of gold belongs definitely to gold, and every jeweler knows that. That's why the jeweler will, you take the gold chain and say, I want money. in return. So the jeweler will first pluck out all the studded stones, etc., and just weigh gold. The jeweler is the jnani, gold jnani, does not get deluded by the ornament. This is exactly how it is. And so, what will speech do? Atma is not really a noun. Oh, maybe it's got some attributes, maybe it has some adjectives: sweet Atma, wonderful Atma, lovely Atma. No such thing. Why? Because if I say sweet Atma, then there should be a bitter Atma by implication, because the function of a adjective is to distinguish other things from that particular thing in its own class. स्वजातीयेभ्यः विषयेभ्यः व्यावर्तकं विशेषणम्. But here there is no need to differentiate, no need to distinguish, because it's the only thing. There is nothing other than it. If there are many lilies, I can tell, please bring me the big lily. Many big lilies being there, I can say, please bring me the big blue lily. Many big blue lilies being there, then I can say, please bring me the big blue fragrant lily. There's only one fragrant lily, and so that lily is brought. This is called Vyavartaka. This is the differentiation. Here, what differentiation? Please bring me Sadatma. Please bring me Satchidatma. Please bring me Satchidananda Atma. You cannot say, because there is no Asat Atma and Jada Atma. There is no need to distinguish. So the adjectives have to keep quiet. They have to go to the corner of the room and keep quiet. Is Atma a verb? No, because it performs no action. No, but just now you just said it is the doer because in its presence every action happens. Yes, in its presence precisely every action happens without it being a doer. No doer, no doing, nothing. And then Atma is not related to anything. So the sambandha is words that reveal relationship. Mine, yours, brother, sister, father, mother. No relationships possible at all. So the words have to sit quietly. Na'u manaha, not indeed. The mind goes there. Mind also cannot go there. Absolutely cannot go there. And therefore what? Therefore one is just flummoxed how to communicate this. And this is what is the topic of the Taittiriya Upanishad also. Yato vacho nivartante apraapya manasa saha anandam brahmano vidvan na bibheti kadachaneti. Very beautiful. Yataha, yasmat, from which Brahman, the vachaha nivartante, speech beats a retreat along with its best friend. Who? The mind. At first the speech and mind, hand in hand, they make an announcement on Twitter. And what do they say? We are going to capture the Atma. Why two of you are needed? Because the mind will conceptualize the Atma and plan the attack and the conquest, and speech will then capture the Atma through words and will bring back the Atma. And then everybody said, farewell, good luck, may you be successful. And then they had a nice ceremony in the town where they were. They had a wonderful ceremony. Everybody put tilak and garlands on the neck of speech and the mind, and they sent them off on their nice jaunt. And they searched everywhere. They searched high, they searched low, they did everything. And they could not find the Atma. Mind could not conceptualize the Atma. Speech could not name the Atma. And even though they had trended on Twitter because they had their tweet had gone viral and they had a wonderful celebration. And then they came back very sad, dejected in the dead of the night so that nobody will see them. They just came into the neighborhood where other sense organs were living, of course, and then they just went to sleep, shut up and went to sleep. This is exactly what happens. The mind cannot, it is beyond the mind. Beyond the mind means what? That which is the content of the mind, that which the mind cannot objectify. That is what here and speech cannot objectify. Na umanaha, na vidmaha. The teacher says we, and when the teacher uses the first person plural, he or she is bringing the whole gamut of the entire lineage of teachers. Na vidmaha, na vijanimaha. Yatha, yatha means how on earth, etad, this thing, which is not a thing, this Atma, which is you. Anushishyad, how is one to teach this? One doesn't know. It shows the authenticity and the humility of the teacher. They are saying that I am not manufacturing the teaching methodology for this. I just came and I was lucky enough to receive the teaching methodology which I am now dispensing, disseminating, transmitting to the people who are interested. I am not the author of this knowledge. I am a mere instrument, a conduit. And what can I teach other than, he's going to say later, other than what was received from my own teacher? This is what it is. Very beautiful. So he talks about how it is not an object, and that is why he says, he implies that I did not teach it as this is the vastu, because as soon as you say this is, immediately the vritti, the mental frame is to trap it, enclose it in a thought, enclose it in a word, enclose it in speech. Atma is not enclosed in a thought, like even pot, hat, cat, mat, rat, etc. And so, this is a very, very wonderful, very wonderful message given by the teacher. Na vidmaha, na vijanimaha. Yatha means how on earth, etat, this Atma, anushishyat, how can one even teach this? And then he continues further, next mantra. I'm looking for the text here. Yeah, here we go. Next mantra, mantra number 3. Yadvacha anabhyuditam yena vag abhyudyate. Oh, one thing is missing here. There is one mantra missing in this transliteration. What happened to that one? Let me look at the other one, the Devanagari one. Hold on. Yeah, there is one more mantra here. Anyadev tad viditat atho aviditat adhi iti shushrumat purvesham yenastad vyacha chakshire. It is not missing, it's part of the same mantra. That's all it is, yeah. So, Anyadeva, he talks about why it is so difficult to teach this. Because anyat eva, it is other indeed. Other than what? Tat, that which you are asking is other than what? Viditat anyat. Vidita means known. Viditat anyat means other than what is known. As an object, of course. You look at the word play here and you look at the paradoxes here so beautifully brought out. Anyadeva tadviditat. It is other than what is known. Aha! Now says the mind. I suspected as much. So the Atma is unlike anything else in the universe. It is other than what I know. So that means what? It is a special experience. It is special. It is something like this, etc., etc. No. Atha u, atho, atho, aviditad, adhi. It is adhi, beyond, above that which is unknown. So you cannot say it is known, you cannot say it is not known. Just this translation, then we'll go deeper into the verse. Anyadeva tad viditat. It is separate, it is other than anything that is known. Atha u aviditat adhi. And likewise, it is indeed other than that which is unknown. What are you trying to say? Either a thing is known or a thing is not known. Make up your mind. I told you this Upanishad is intended to scramble the mind in the introductory class itself. And if your mind feels that it is just all jumbled up and made into some kind of a primal soup, congratulations. That's where the Upanishad wants you to be. That's exactly where it wants you to be. The mind has to be mush, and the pramata, I as the knower, the mind that is identifying itself with the ahankara as the knower, has to just go to sleep out of sheer dejection and frustration. Then only that knowledge which abides as you without the need for the knower, because it is already self-evident and it is not something to be known as an object, that alone prevails. And to understand that, to discover that, this knower must be dethroned consciously. And so the teacher, deploying these words of the Shastra with pedagogical finesse, is doing a number on the minds and the ahankaras of the students assembled very joyously. Anyadeva tad viditat, atho aviditad adhi. So it is not known. It is not unknown. And before anybody can throw a tomato at the teacher, what quickly the teacher says, Iti Shushruma Purvesham. This is how we were taught by the teachers who came before us. This is not coming out of my head. And in fact, I cannot get ahead with this knowledge at all. Because this knowledge is not something that I have manufactured. This is the knowledge of the infinite. It is not manufactured, it simply is. It happens to be that way. And thank God the Purvajas. Purvajas means those that were born before me. The Purvas were there. The teachers that went before me. The weight of the entire lineage. The entire lineage graces this transmission like even an umbrella that shades me from the harsh sun, the scorching heat of the pressure of the mind to objectify something. I'm saved from the sun of to look at it differently. I'm saved from the scorching sun of fear, doubt, and from the rain of depression, dejection. That is the power of this umbrella of knowledge, which represents the teaching tradition, where each teacher is saying the same thing. Same exact thing is being talked about, same exact thing is being said. The upadhis are different. Upadhi means what? The so-called containers in which the teachers, come. Same thing. Old wine in new bottles. There is one expression. Same thing. Exactly. And so some teachers have beards, some teachers don't have beards, some teachers are men, some teachers are women. And so there is a whole array and gamut of teachers to choose from, depending on one's own issues, really. Some, one is attracted to certain kinds of teachers because of one's own raga and dvesha in the beginning, one's own, core issues, if we can use that term. So those who might have a lot of mother issues may feel safer with the masculine teacher. And then those who may have conversely father issues may feel safer with a female teacher. But then, what if I have both mother issues and father issues? Don't worry, the Upanishad has a remedy for that also. In the, in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Madhu Vidya, the sage Dadhichi, Dadhyang, also known as Dadhyang, teaches the Ashwin twins. Who are the Ashwin twins? And of course, they are twins, but they have only one name, Ashwin 1 and Ashwin 2, if you want to really differentiate. Both of them are called Ashwin. They are assistants to Dhanvantari, the presiding deity of healing. And so they go to Dadhyang and say, "Please, revered sir, teach me." Dadhyang says, "No, why aren't we qualified? Please teach." No, no, no. This Indra, who is the protagonist of this Upanishad, who is also the protagonist of that area of the Brihadaranyaka, that Madhu Vidya portion of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. What did Indra do? Indra said, "I should be the only one to get the knowledge from you, O revered teacher. Just keep in mind that if after me you teach anybody else, I am going to apply the Vajra and decapitate you." And so the poor teacher was sitting without teaching and said, "I can't teach because I still have some prarabdha to live. Let me just live my life. I can't teach because this fellow is going to come down. He's going to know. He knows everything. He's got Brahma Vidya from me, and he's just going to swoop down and just decapitate me." The Ashwins were not the assistants to the great Dhanvantari for no reason. They said, "We have a plan, don't worry, oh teacher to be." What is the plan? Before he decapitates you, we ourselves will decapitate you. What? Are you out of your mind? I'm not teaching so that he will decapitate me. Now you are saying you will do the honors. What's wrong with you? No, no, no. Hear us out. We have brought an ice chest, or some equivalent of that. Okay, I'm just modernizing the story. So we have an ice chest. We are going to keep your head safely there, and then we are going to do the first head transplant in history. We are going to put the head of a horse on you. And then you teach without any problem, and then of course he will come and cut off, because he is so impulsive, he will not even see what he is cutting off. He will cut off the head of the horse, and then we'll be ready with our needles and threads, and we will affix your head back, and that curse is gone, and you can teach without any problem. So he teaches with the horse's head. This is if one has mother issues, father issues, these are the kinds, this is the way in which the Upanishad neutralizes those issues. In also in another account of the Chandogya Upanishad, Satyakama goes for the knowledge, and then he meets a lion, a wounded lion, with a thorn in its paw. And the wounded lion shows and says, "Look, I'm really, what should I say, I'm wounded and hungry. Please remove this thorn." Satyakama says, "You lost me at hungry. I'm not going to remove this thorn." You know, "No, no, I won't eat you. But look, you look restless. What's the matter?" "No, I want to know Brahman." "Don't worry, I will teach you some Brahman. Remove this thorn." You see how ingenious the Upanishad is. The teachers come in all different ways. And the next animal he meets is a blue heron that has unfortunately swallowed the fish the wrong way and it is writhing, unable to breathe. That's why it is blue, because it has been turned blue. And then what? So it should be called the Satyakama maneuver, not the Heimlich maneuver. Okay, so he performs the Satyakama maneuver on this heron, and pooh, the fish bone comes out, and the heron teaches him about Brahman. All this is there, not just this is not just some kind of a prattlings of an infantile mind like some colonialists have deemed the Upanishads to be. This is so that the whole teaching tradition, the weight of the teaching tradition is so unique, because the same thing comes through various mouths in different ways, and that is intentional. It is intentional that the teacher will look a certain way and will have a certain way of giving the knowledge that appeals, or that speaks rather, because it's not the question of appealing, that speaks to certain people. That is the point of how this knowledge proceeds. So he says that which is beyond the known, that which is other than the known, that which is beyond the unknown. This is what it is. And the teacher here is extremely humble, not, no posturing whatsoever, no pressure to make oneself the author of this knowledge. And so the teacher simply says, Iti shushruma purvesham. This is what we have heard from our revered ancestors in the teaching tradition. This is what they told us. Ye naha tat, the ye means those teachers, naha to us, tat, that Brahman, vyacha chakshire, taught us without anything needing to be left, taught us without residue. How beautiful it is. And so this much we have to study here a little more. Anyadeva tad viditat. Viditat anyat. It is not that which you know. Because see, again, the whole world is divided into known and unknown. One fears the unknown, and one has a sense of accomplishment with everything that is known. This is the regular orientation that is being powerfully interrupted here. Powerfully interrupted. Anyadeva tad viditat. So it is not anything, it is unlike anything that you know. What is it that you know? Well, you know all kinds of names and forms. Narada the sage knew a lot of things. A whole lot of things Narada knew. And then sage Narada, when he went to Sanat Kumara informs him. First Sanat Kumara asks him, what do you know? And when he tells all the whole list of everything that he knows, Sanat Kumara tells him, my dear fellow, you know a lot of nothing. What is a lot of nothing? Nothing. What is a little bit of nothing? Nothing. There is no difference at all. My dear fellow, no wonder you are subject to grief. You know a lot, but you know a lot of nothing, because you don't know that one thing that makes the thing, anything in the world, into a thing. In fact, the word vastu in Sanskrit means thing. In fact, the whole world is called avastu, and the word vastu is used only for Brahman. That is the only thing to know. That is the only thing that there is. And if you know everything without knowing that one thing, what is the use? Ramana Maharshi, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi says in the Saddarshanam that it is like a group of mathematicians, not knowing the Atman and having big philosophical discussions about it, about the whole Jagat, and engaging in various points of view about the entire Jagat is like a group of mathematicians who assemble for a conference. And having assembled for the conference, they have a serious discussion and start resolving certain very complex equation. There's only one thing that is missing. Oh, what is that? The number one. They don't take number one into account. This is what the whole thing is. And without taking number one into account, they have a whole discourse, a whole conference has been organized, a mathematics conference where number one doesn't feature anywhere. What kind of, what kind of a thing it is? What kind of a conference is it? It is compromised right from the start. It is based on the wrong premise, because that number one is it's primal to every discussion. So you can't do addition, you can't do even the basic mathematical operations, addition, subtraction, division, multiplication is not possible. What to talk of complex trigonometry and all these other things. So this is exactly how it is in the universe, that one becomes a collector of objects. And one keeps on collecting names and forms, including degrees and pedigrees and notions and all kinds of things. Notions and potions and lotions and all kinds of things. These are all just names. These have nothing to do with whatever is going on. And here one is just completely into anatma. The more one goes towards the finite, the infinite is no longer in the picture. Because the infinite doesn't have a pressure to be known, because it is not that which is known. This is what is being described. The infinite doesn't have the pressure to be the knower. I am the knower. No, because it is not the knower. It is not the known. It is not other than the known. It is not unknown, because it is I. It is known as I. This is fantastic. Very, very fantastic. And so therefore this has to be understood very, very clearly. And when we understand this clearly, it gives us an inclination of how this is taught, how this knowledge is imbibed, how this is studied and internalized. So from the Narada Sanat Kumara example, we know what happens when everything is known except that one thing which makes up everything. That is why Narada is the greatest. He knows a lot. He is the greatest. But he is still subject to grief, because the Atma is not known. So it is other than anything you can know as an object. Why? Because in the knowledge of the objects, there is always duality. The subject-object relationship is always there, up front and center. I remain the knower and I relate to some object as the known. Knower known distinction is there. In fact, it's a tripod, a triputi. Knower known means of knowledge. These three things are there in any cognition. Any cognition you take, these three things feature very, very strongly. And so, what is one to do here? One cannot do anything but see, but one is stuck. I am the knower. I deploy the means of knowledge called sight. That becomes the means of knowledge in order to know a rose, a flower. The flower is the object of knowledge, the subject of knowledge, and the means of knowledge. One is dependent on all these three in order to identify oneself as the knower. This is what one has to do. But then here you are talking of knowing something which is your very being, which is not the knower. Oh, is it the known? It is not the known. Oh, is it unknown? It is not unknown because it's you. If you say, if you answer the question, are you here? You will say, yes, I am. So you know yourself. You know you exist. So it is not an object of ignorance, neither is it an object of a means of knowledge, neither it is an object of a knower capturing the object by a subject. Because here it is knowledge without a knower. It is all knowledge without a knower. It is existence without any particular time or space reference. And it is limitless. And it is you. So therefore, anyadeva tad viditat. Anything you think you know, it is not the Atma. Anything you think you know is anatma as an object. And then what? Atha u aviditat adhi. It is not that which you don't know. Very beautiful here. Aviditat means maybe it is karana. Vidita, that which is from a slightly different standpoint. Avidita, karana. Vidita, karya. Karya means what? Karya means effect. So, the whole world of names and forms, they are effects. Because you don't see Brahman as the projector, manifester of the universe. The universe is karya, effect. And Ishvara, Bhagavan, Brahman as Bhagavan is karana. In relation to this effect, we say Bhagavan is the cause. Yato va imani bhutani jagante ye na jatani jivanti yat prayantyabhisamvishantiti tad vijijñasasva tad brahmeti. Bhrigu, son of Varuna, goes to the father and says, please teach me Brahman. And he says, that causeless cause from which all this has come, by which all this is sustained, and unto which everything collapses at the end of this yuga, know that to be Brahman, inquire into that. And he sends him off. So here the karana and karya, these are two things again. In addition to the first level of meaning that we saw, avidita and vidita. It is not coming, the first meaning is what? The basic meaning. It is the Brahman is not something that you know as an object, and neither it is unknown because it is known as you. And it is self-evident, so you cannot say I don't know I exist, because you do know you exist. Your existence is already broadcasting itself without your effort, without needing a means of knowledge to be operational in order to understand that you exist. So then what? Then on another level, when the avidita comes, vidita and avidita, on a deeper level, avidita, that which is unknown, is what? Karana. Karana is not locally available. What is the cause? Where is the cause of this universe? You look around, you don't see Ishvara. Because of Shraddha and because the Veda unfolds Ishvara, and therefore you can say Ishvara, Ishvara is there. Because of your own reverence to the Veda that unfolds the nature of Ishvara, you can say, yes, this is all Ishvara's doing. And Ishvara is not other than me. Ultimately, you come to that. But first, when you look for a lay person, the cause is not locally available. Therefore, the cause is avidita. And what is the effect? Vidita, because it is knowable, it is objectifiable. I may not know it, but somebody at some point will know it. You can't keep a thing hidden for too long. Whether it's a politician's scandal or whether it is some object in the universe, it will be known at some point. It will come. It will come out. Some discoveries are accidental, like penicillin. This Fleming, the doctor who is credited with the discovery, was just, doing something else. And then suddenly he was starting some other experiment, and then suddenly he saw that all the bacteria had died because of the fungus that grew in the petri dish, and that's how penicillin was discovered. Some discoveries are accidental, some discoveries happen after years and years of research. And some discoveries are surprising because they go contrary to any kind of hypothesis that one had beforehand. And so, therefore, what? Therefore, it is not unknown because it is known as you, and it is not known as an object, and neither it is the cause of the universe, and neither is it an effect. This is where the Upanishad wants you to go next. Because the fixation of Ishvara, sitting somewhere, who knows where, Vaikuntha, Kailasa, heaven, doesn't matter, some place, and then blessing. And then I pray to this Ishvara, look at how you have messed up the Jagat, write it for me, come down as an avatara and bless me, do this, do that. All these are romantic fantasies. Nice to have a conversation, perhaps for some time, but then beyond that, there is no use at all, no use at all for this kind of talk. That's why the Kenopanishad warns and says, Anya vacha pramunchatha. Just give up talk. Just leave any other talk other than this serious talk about Brahman. And so one is able to go up to Ishvara, but then that duality is hanging in the air. There is a heaviness in the air, and there is a whiff of duality that one cannot get rid of. Like an old, like a wet dog smell. Cannot get rid of that. Until the dog dries, you have to have that wet dog smell. So what is this? What is this hanging in the air? That which is hanging in the air is the last frontier of duality between the worshipper and the worshipped. And this is very difficult to cross. In any dharma, even in the Hindu dharma, which says you have to cross this, it is very difficult to cross, in the Hindu dharma. And what to talk of other, dharmas. In other dharmas, if you dare to cross this worshipper-worship divide, then the clergy will be very cross with you. This cannot be crossed. This is here to stay. Of course, Bhagavan is different from you. Jagat is separate from Bhagavan. You are separate from Bhagavan. You are separate from the Jagat. Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, Bheda is there. And based on this Bheda, various religions tout their messages. And coming to the Hindu tradition, which overtly says that which should be accomplished in this life alone, not in an afterlife, and that God which you are seeking is none other than the truth of you, we still have difficulty crossing this karya karana divide, cause effect divide. We have a great difficulty crossing this cause effect divide. One may enter Vedanta, but the orientation is towards worship. Worship, not worshipfulness, that is not being talked about. Worshipfulness that comes out of one's own fullness is not being talked about here. Worship as a means to get by in the universe, that is what we are referring to. And the orientation is to approach Ishvara, and then have devotion towards Ishvara, please Ishvara, seek help from Ishvara. And all that has a place. This is called karma yoga, where you put Ishvara up front and center, and then you dedicate your doership to Ishvara. You take the help of Ishvara to view the results of action as prasada, as a gift from Ishvara. And you do this for your own growth, and you pray for all obstacles to be gone in the process of gaining this knowledge. Nothing wrong. The Upanishad just says there is a vista point further than this if you dare to go there. If you are ready to go there, the teacher says, quickly, I can teach you what I learned from my teachers. That this Brahman that you seek is consciousness with a crown, and that crown is mithya, Ishvaratvam crown. And then a miserable dunce cap, Jivatvam, Jiva dunce cap, because why self-ignorance? Okay, so Jiva sitting in the at the back of the class with a dunce cap. Remove the cap, Brahman. Remove the elaborate crown, Ishvaratvam, the mantle of Ishvarahood, you remove, and all that is there is Brahman alone. And this Brahman has to be viewed as being other than the cause, other than the effect. Neither cause nor effect, yet sustains the cause and sustains the effect both without becoming either. This is where the teacher is daring the student to go, because otherwise one will be hanging with the cause effect, the causality of the universe, and then then the Advaita Siddhi will not take place, that oneness will not be understood, and that oneness is not completely assimilated. And so therefore what? Therefore one has to dare to see that the mithyatvam, meaning the dependent nature of this Shakti, Maya Shakti, that converts Brahman, as though converts Brahman into Ishvara, and as though converts the same Brahman into Jiva. That same Maya Shakti. Maya Shakti, Maya, the power of Maya is mithya. It's an as though power, non-separate from Brahman. As though power, endowed as though, with which Brahman is called the cause of the universe, and the Jiva is called the effect. Same Brahman, wearing a dunce cap or wearing a cloak of tears and fears, afraid to leave the house, fearful of what lies beyond. Oh no, what's going to happen? All these things. And this is what has to be discerned properly. This is what has to be understood. Anyadeva tad viditat atha u aviditat adhi iti shushruma purvesham yenastad vyachachakshire. Those who taught us, they had the grace of their teachers, and they transmitted this grace to us. And thankfully, because of the compassionate pedagogies of the teaching tradition, we have imbibed the knowledge in this way to see Brahman as not the cause, as beyond the cause. Because if it is a cause, then it is stuck with a causality, and then it is stuck with the effect. Then how can it be called limitless? It blesses the cause, it blesses the effect, without becoming either the cause or the effect. Then how to think of it as you? This is a Mahavakya here. Really, no other way. This is how the oneness is communicated. The oneness does not operate at the level of Ishvara and Jiva. The oneness operates at the level where Ishvaratvam is enquired into and Jivatvam is enquired into. And that definition of Ishvaratvam, Ishvarahood, is seen as mithya, and that Jivahood is seen cognitively as mithya, as a dependent reality, as a projection of this Brahman. Like even the snake rope. Without rope, there is no snake. Without adhishthana, there is no adhyasa. There is no projection without the rope. The rope is recognized as rope. One day you see a snake, another day you see a garland, and so on the same rope. Next day you see a garland because you're in a good mood. So you mistake it for a garland, an object of desire. Another day you're afraid of everything, and then so you mistake this for a object of fear. If it's a garland, you approach it. If it is a rope, if it is a snake, you go away from it. But all the time, what is it? It's a rope. And same thing, there is aropa. Maybe that's why they called it rope, because of the word aropa. There is a superimposition, as it were. And as though superimposition on that nameless, formless consciousness, Satchidananda, which gains the epithet of the cause of the universe. So it is not separate from the cause is not separate from it. It is separate from the cause. And then what? Then the same way we have to see all the things, names and forms in the universe called effect. That same Brahman gets the epithet of effect without being effect. It is neither cause nor effect. It is that which blesses the cause, blesses the effect, but does not come under their spell, does not get affected by being the cause, does not get a swollen head by being the cause, does not get a complex by being the effect. I'm so small, I'm not all. I wish I were God. It doesn't have this complex. And this is how we learnt it from our teachers. And then the mantras number 4 to 7 or something like that, 7 or 8, they are going to take each sense organ individually and apply the same logic that it is beyond that particular thing. It is not an object of sight. It is not the object of the sense organs. We apply the same principle that we have applied so far and understand it a little more deeply. And then we will do that in the next class. We will do a little overview of that. Okay. Somebody had asked a question here earlier about the meditation. So, can you please explain more about the inner mother or the internalized mother and the outer word mother? And then how is it different from the visualization that was the river? I'd like to have more of an understanding. So that is a good question. So here is the is what I have to say, because you see, when you think about the river, what happens? It just is. You don't have an agenda with reference to the river. That's why people, when they go to nature, they are generally happy, because you just are able, they don't, there are no conditions attached to the river, there are no conditions attached to the mountain. You can admire it for what it is because you grant it the freedom to be exactly how it is. But when we come to the primary caregivers, mother, father, there are actually two sets of them. One set are the objective mother and father, however they were, however they are. Maybe they were, kind, maybe they were attentive, maybe they were compassionate, all these things. So that is all, that is the outside mother and father. And then there is an internalized mother and father in the form of unmet and unmeetable expectations, unfulfilled expectations. I always wanted this. The mother gave more attention to the sibling. That feeling is the internalized mother. Ah, internalized father. Father not available, inconsistent, negligent, internalized father. Ah. See how it is different from the mountain and the river. With in regard to the mountain and the river, you can be an appreciative, non-demanding, objective and contented person. But with regard to the significant other and other, significant others in your life, very difficult. Mother, father, spouse, children, very difficult to have this objectivity. So instead of carrying the internalized mother, you gently put it out. That internalization is externalized by consciously granting the person the freedom to be who they are and acknowledging that it is my own perception. My subjectivity might be there, and so therefore I grant the person the freedom to be who they are, and in so doing, I free myself of the hold that they will be different or they should have been different. At least that feeling is suspended for the course of the meditation. That's the idea. But this is also, this is also like a contemplation and open eye meditation. That's why our ancestors in the Upanishad said, Matradevo Bhava, Pitradevo Bhava. It doesn't mean look upon your mother and father as God. That's not what it means. It says, be the one unto whom mother is non separate from Bhagavan. And what is the difference here? The difference is Ishwarize the mother, Ishwarize your parentage, Ishwarize the father, because this is exactly how it was meant to be. Go to a place, or may you go to a place of graceful acceptance. That is the idea. I hope that helped. I will see you all tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ